Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between Norsca, led by Throg the Troll King, and the Warriors of Chaos, who are going to be led by Kolek Suneater, who does have a pretty elite escort. In total, it looks like he does have 4 groups of the Chosen with Halberds, as well as a couple Armored Chaos Trolls. It definitely should be some fun stuff. As far as my army goes, it was actually a little bit of a mistake. So this army is actually designed against Beastmen. My opponent had picked Beastmen in the lobby, then I went AFK to get some coffee. I come back, the game started. He's the Warriors of Chaos. But, you know, it's still not going to be too bad. I mean, I guess Beastmen are Chaos technically as well, so maybe it'll work out. But in the front line, we do actually have a couple of groups of the Marauder Champions with Great Opens, which is going to be pretty solid against the Warriors of Chaos. For the most part, these guys will trade somewhat effectively with the Halberd infantry, the Chosen in the front line. The Berserkers might struggle a little bit, but still they do have a bonus for his infantry and with the support of Shadow Magic, so potentially using the, what is that called, the Enfeebling Foe and some of the other debuffs in the front line, getting some good pendulums. Maybe these Berserkers should do an okay job in the front line. I'm actually kind of eager to see how they do against like Halberds and elite infantry. So we do have the Marauders and the Marauder Berserkers. Well, of course, they're all Marauders, Marauder Berserkers, as well as Champions in the front line. In the secondary line, I usually bring a couple Marauder Hunters with Javelins to take out Centaurs and Minotaurs and things like that, but they'll be okay against Chaos. They'll be good against Trolls. They'll be good against Kolek. Even against Chaos Knights, these guys can do some okay damage because, yes, they don't have the best armor-piercing damage. You can see it's only 7, but they still have a huge bonus for Sarge of 15, which is always quite helpful. So I think that the Marauder Hunters with Javelin should be a pretty good pick. And honestly, this army isn't bad against Chaos. I really think it should be pretty good. Marauder Spearmen in the back. One group of the Famir Warriors with Great Weapons, which are just, these guys are like MVPs against Chaos. They're really good against Chaos Knights. They're good against Shaggus. They can beat down Chaos Infantry. If you want to, you can stack them on top of your Berserkers, who, like I said, don't really have good armor piercing, but these guys have armor sundering. So for any of you guys who haven't seen, they lower the enemy's armor by 30, hence making your Berserkers much more effective. So I really, really like these Famir Warriors. Over here, the Beasts of Tashnar on the hunt. Norscan Ice Wolves with a group of regular Skin Wolves for my anti-cav contingent. Usually very good against like Centaurs, but they'll be pretty good at counter-skirmishing against Marauder Horsemen. And if they did have Chaos Knights, I could use these guys as kind of a counterattack unit. So I could fend them off with spears, and when the Chaos Knights commit against my infantry, I can then countercharge with the Ice Wolves, frostbite them, and have some fun from there. So for my opponent's forces, he's got a couple of groups of the Marauder Horsemen here. Not a bad choice against Famir, so a lot of Norscan players against Chaos like to just go like Marauder Infantry with a bunch of Famir Warriors, so these guys would be okay, although they look like they're not the throwing axe variant. So I think my opponent is actually intending to use these guys to take out Berserkers and infantry like that, which they'll do pretty good if left, you know, unchecked here. For his main line, he does have a bunch of the, I think, yeah, like I said, Chosen with Halberds. So it's going to be very tough for any monsters to flourish here. And these guys still have really good stats against infantry. 54 melee defense, 120 armor, pretty much impeccable leadership. They're going to be tough to bring down. My Famir Warriors and Throg are definitely going to struggle here, but the Champions and Berserkers, I think with the support of Shadow Magic, should be able to put a dent in these guys. He does have a Shadowcaster himself with the, it looks like Pendulum, Melkoth, as well as Occam's Mindrazor. Then he does have Kolek Suneater and 2 groups of Armored Chaos Trolls, and these guys are going to take my Champions to Pound Town. That's going to be some pretty nasty stuff there in the front line. So anyways, guys, let's get this show on the road. So over here, my Berserker's taking a pretty substantial volley. It does do a lot of HP damage, but I only lose 1 model, this unfortunate Berserker. It's like that opening scene of American Gods where like the one Viking Marauder guy gets like taken out, which is pretty funny. But in the meantime, my Javelins will be pushing up the counter skirmish those guys and push them back. And the main line engagement's pretty much underway. Beasts of Tashnar are going to be coming around the flank to kind of harass the Trolls and maybe go after the Horsemen. So he didn't have a lot of backline defense. So it's funny because my normal Chaos build wouldn't have this much backline harass, but it actually ended up being pretty good this game because I do have tools to chase down those Marauder Horsemen. But like I said, here in the front line, it is underway. The Berserkers are going to be colliding with these Chosen, which I don't know. I'm actually really eager to see how this goes. But again, the Pendulum is going to need to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Some of the Champions have engaged, and the Trolls are coming in. Javelins are also going to be assailing the Trolls, but they're just going to get right into my Champions right here. And this is going to be some ugly, ugly business. In the meantime, the Frost Fluffs here in the back, the Norscan Ice Wolves, are hunting down the Marauder Horsemen. The other group is being hunted by the Beasts of Tashnar, so potentially going to be able to get some really good value here. You can see they're pretty much wrapped up. And the Skin Wolves are also going to be pushing through, so the Beasts of Tashnar are very good against these guys. They have anti-large and are very quick. What is their speed? 107 speed. That is bananas, but that's largely due, in fact, to the Smoke and Mirrors proc for my Shadow Magic. And I think I did get a Pendulum in the front line. I'm pretty sure it just went down on these Chosen with Halberds. You can see the Trolls are taking a lot of Javelin fire from my Hunters in the back line, but a lot of my frontline areas are buckling. The Champions, with the combined, force of the Chosen and these Trolls plus Kolek, I don't think my infantry are going to hold terribly long here. So we're really going to need to get some huge value. Kolek come in here with his Pimp Hammer. You can see the Famir Warriors are going to be pushing through to kind of intercept him and keep him from just doing whatever he wants. But yeah, the Champions are terrified and routing. Not much damage done to my opponent, I guess. Actually, that's not bad. He did use an Occam's Mindrazor to make them a little bit more powerful. And I did have some Berserkers who I was originally flanking with, but I decided to just engage them. So just trying to pull back, trying to get my hunters back right now. My opponent pushing forward with the Chosen, who've been intercepted by the Spearmen. The Familiar Warriors in a really bad situation because they're basically surrounded by Chosen and Kolek. And Kolek, of course, is just shuffleboarded that guy, and you can see him flying into another dimension. Tail whipping these guys. So the Familiar Warriors having a really bad time. And I thought Throg had some company here. I was like, you know what? He has some Familiar Warriors. He has supporting units. He should be okay. But yeah, they all kind of ran away, and unfortunately Throg is in a really bad duel situation. Yes, he can put up a great fight against Kolek, but Kolek plus Chosen with halberds. You can see another pendulum coming down right here. I was trying to nip away at these Chosen, and I don't get too much damage. Yeah, it looks like we only got like one model there. And yeah, Kolek's whooping on Throg, so this is looking pretty grim, guys. Bounce of power in my opponent's favor. Having to scurry away here. Throg's in a little bit of trouble. But in the back, this is kind of a good situation. So, well, a typically bad situation where my backline is compromised is being turned into a good one. So my opponent is chasing me with the Trolls, which has isolated them. So the Beast of Tashnar actually will do great work against the Armored Chaos Trolls. And the other group of Trolls did overextend after my Marauder Hunters with Javelins. I was able to intercept them with the Skin Wolves. So the Skin Wolves and the Frost Wolves were able to take out these Trolls. So that is, 2,000 gold worth of resources I'm able to pick off with very little retaliation from my opponent. You can see one of my Skin Wolves. Did that guy just get taken out by my own spears? It looks like he did. It's pretty funny, but anyways, we do get both the Trolls. So this one group of Trolls is gone. It's still 11 models, but the Beast of Tashnar, like, they just ravaged these armored Trolls. They did not care for that armor. Of course, the Marauder Hunters were helping, but that was still some really good value there. But in the front line, Throg is being hunted. You can see Big Daddy Kolek's just kind of waddling after him. But the spears, the Marauder Spearmen, are going to intercept Kolek, and the heroic hounds, the fluffy beasts of Norsca, the Skin Wolves, as well as the Frost Wolves here, are going to be kind of going in there. And they will be intercepting Kolek and protecting Throg. So this is really big, because Throg does have regeneration. Of course, all the Trolls do. And he's going to be able to heal up. And now Kolek is a little bit enveloped here. You can see he has a pretty good HP pool, pretty much impeccable health. But let's take a look at the rest of the infantry for my opponent. So he does have some Chosen here. This fight is a little bit bloody. These Berserkers actually racking up 22 kills, and seems to be, yeah, they're doing an okay job against the Chosen. I mean, nobody really trades terribly well with Chosen. Chosen are pretty scary infantry. But over here, there is a group of Chosen with halberds, and Throg does get a beautiful throw up on those guys. And the Familiar Warriors are going to come in and just kind of pile drive these guys with the help of some of these returning champions. So it's definitely a back and forth game here. The bounce power is still in my opponent's favor. He is trying to chase me down with Kolek. He's using everything he can to get back there, the Foe Seeker, but I do intercept him with the Hounds, which is good, buying time for Throg. And this is also allowing time for my Hunters to kind of just, overwatch and just slowly pick away these Chosen, these other troops. But here you can see that Kolek is kind of in a bad situation. He does get the Enfeebling Foe. Throg is relatively low, but Enfeebling Foe is going to make him very, very weak. And I'm getting really, really good Javelin fire. So all of a sudden, Kolek is taking massive damage from this group of Marauder Hunters with Javelins, and the other one is going to be turning to take out Kolek as well. So look at the damage he's taking. He's just getting melted. We do not care about Star Crusher, and Kolek's trying to get away. He has 31 HP, and down goes the Ancient Dragon Ogre. So the Marauders Hunters with the Javelins here doing a great job, and you can see this Chaos Sorcerer leaping in to avenge Kolek is going to be cleaving some of them for Corn. But man, that was really cool. I mean, very thematic Norscan stuff right there. All these Javelins taking out this huge monster, which was that was definitely really badass. But the Skin Wolf's going to be rushing over to intercept this Chaos Sorcerer. I'm trying to pull back my Hunters with Javelins, and now it's a very even fight. Bounce of Power is pretty much dead even in terms of troop quality. My opponent does have 49 Chosen here, another group of 40 there. In the back, the Beast of Tashnar and my Hounds were able to chase off the Trolls and the other units like that. Throg is healing. So he was at about 1200 after fighting Kolek. He's been able to stabilize, and now I can really cycle charge and hopefully get some good value. In the meantime, the Marauder Hunters coming back in, and what's cool about Marauder Hunters and Norsca in general is their skirmisher units and units like this are actually not bad in melee. Like, if I have to fight with these guys, 28 weapon strength plus the enrage mechanics, so that's pretty good. But yeah, the Chosen are getting hit with Melkos, they're being hit with spears, kind of being dragged through the mud a little bit, and the Familiar Warriors still have 8 models with the armor sundering. That's going to make my troops a lot more effective in melee here with these Marauder Hunters. And Throg's coming back in with the Skin Wolves. We get a very heavy shot combat charge here on these Chosen. You can see they're being cleaved off screen. That one Chosen is flying into orbit from that Skin Wolf or Throg. I'm not sure what that was, but man, just such a bloody close fight. Bounce of Power is still pretty much dead even. Overwatch from the Hunters is doing pretty well, but now I am out of ammunition here. But we do get a pretty good surround from the Beasts of Tashnar, who get a nice rear charge on the Chosen. And yes, even though the Beasts of Tashnar aren't a unit that's typically going to perform well against Chosen, it's still a rear charge penalty, which is going to apply, I think, -14 leadership. And the Chosen do indeed break. So at this point, it doesn't really matter what is attacking the Chosen, the Beasts of Tashnar. Any sort of Hound unit is going to be very efficient at chasing them off the battlefield. And Throg actually kicks the head off the Chaos Sorcerer, and yeah, that's a pretty archetypal way of Throg, for Throg to end games at least. And the last of the Chosen here are going to be fighting fully surrounded by the hordes of Norsca, the champions. Throg coming in with a karate chop with his club there, and that's going to be all she wrote. So what a game. I was so back and forth, and yeah, I really thought that Kolek was actually going to kill Throg there at the end, but the enfeebling foe plus the Overwatch fire coming in from the javelins, like they melted Kolek. He had like 1500 HP or like close to 2000, and you know, I really thought that the Marauder Hunters with javelins would do okay damage, but that was like melting damage. That really just took him down a whole bracket there, which was pretty insane. The Berserkers did okay against the Chosen. I think it still would have been more effective to just have Marauder Hunter champions or Marauder champions with great weapons in the front line, which is what I normally do against Chaos. But, you know, the Berserkers didn't do bad, really. I mean, they seem to trade okay, and they do have a different type of Enrage. So standard Marauder Infantry and Norskins in general have basic Enrage, but the Berserkers have one called Berserk, which makes them go out of control at the highest tier, but it also gives better combat stats, like better melee attack and physical resist. So over very long, grindy battles, you know, the Berserkers can certainly trade pretty well. The Skin Wolves, you know, even though this army was built for Beastmen, it actually ended up being better against what my opponent brought, because he brought a very, you know, a different Chaos army. The Marauder Horsemen obviously aren't something you see terribly often here, and the Chaos Trolls are a bit of a not, I wouldn't call it a strange pick, because they can be good, but you wouldn't see them against Norsca too often, simply because they're very vulnerable against like the Javelins and things like that. But the fact that I had the Beasts of Tashnar to take them out, the Skin Wolves, and the Norscan Ice Wolves to really pressure the Marauder Horsemen and the Chaos Trolls, like, ended up being pretty good. So so I guess it was a bit of a blessing in disguise, as they say. So yeah, aside from that, I enjoyed it. Throg was pretty good. My opponent's army was definitely one of those like those just grindy Chaos armies that's just going to stand there with halberds and try and outlast you. But the fact that we were able to get Kolek down there at the end, I think, was really kind of the saving grace. And of course, being able to chase off the Horsemen and take out the Trolls relatively early, because the Trolls did overextend. I think that if they had stayed higher and tighter on top of the halberds and just had this inexorable push through my forces, it would have been a little bit tougher. But anyways, very well played to my opponent, Lungerson. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Norsca versus Chaos game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.